Good morning. We're here at day 3 at the We Share Fest in Paris. Next to me is Marco. Marco is from the European Sharing Economy Coalition. He's also doing some other really great things. Welcome.
Thank you.
Can you please share with our viewers some insights about yourself?
Yes, with pleasure. So my name is Marco Torregrossa. I am the managing director of Freelancers, which is a group of independent EU affairs professionals and investors, and we are based in Brussels. Within this group, we have created a number of initiatives. We're running a number of initiatives. One of them is the European Sharing Economy Coalition, which is an initiative that tries to bring together at the European level the main organization active in the sharing economy and to raise one single voice vis-à-vis the regulators and the main decision maker, be an interface with them, trying to promote as much as possible the sharing economy. We do this by advocating, so using advocacy, and by campaigning and by raising funds.
Okay, and what's your main goal? You say promotion, but also having a new European regulation about the sharing economy, because nowadays every country got its own regulation. Can you share some more information about that?
Yes. Well, we have identified a number of regulations and we've done a very specific mapping to find out what are the regulations that would impact the sharing economy, and particularly what are those outdated regulatory frameworks that need to be adapted, otherwise they would impact negatively the sharing economy. As you know, much of the regulation that we have in Europe has been drafted even before the internet was even born. So there's a real need to minimize the unintended consequences of regulation. Rather than that, we are taking a very proactive stance. So we are using best practice and proven solutions to convince the regulator that something is available now as we speak and can be mainstream, well, it can be uptaken and replicated in the various European member states using successful case studies. One of them is the city of Amsterdam. I mention it because I know you're Dutch.
Yeah.
And try to convince politicians at the local level, at the city level, that this kind of solutions can take roots also within their constituencies.
And when you look at the top 3 challenges, if you can make a choice between the top 3, what kind of challenge do we think that to really have a sustainable model for the sharing economy in Europe?
In Europe, yes. Well, we are analyzing a number of topics at the moment that we think that represent the main challenges and opportunities at the same time for the sharing economy. One of them that we're very keen on investigating more is the move towards professionalism in sharing services. I explain. It used to be 10 or 20 years ago where in eBay, for example, you could have just clean up your cellar with the junk you had and sell it and make some money. These days you have professional shops, mostly from China and so on, which are taking over the whole place. And we see this in, for example, Airbnb, where there are less and less micro-entrepreneurs and normal people giving rooms, and more bed and breakfast and small accommodation providers. So this is creating a little bit of a monopoly, and we don't know where it's going to head to, but it's certainly a development that we should recognize and that we could represent challenges. The second one is the disintermediation, what we call disintermediation in sharing platforms. Basically what happens is that in some of these platforms which are run on the sharing economy, you have a middleman, an intermediary that it brings together the different parties, which is the provider and the users. What we have discovered, or the tendency we spotted at the moment, is that there is a sort of disintermediation, particularly after the first transaction. Then the users and providers decide to bypass the platform and start sharing by themselves. And this is quite dangerous in my opinion, because it can fuel black labor and a black market. I mean, in some platforms like the biggest sharing economy platforms like Airbnb, I wouldn't advise to do so, also because you never know what's happening to do a transaction outside Airbnb, and now they have an insurance policy, they have a very good internal regulation in place that ensures quality. But in the more emerging marketplaces, something like, for example, for labor or microtasking, it does happen that after the first interaction, then people just go away and decide to transact with one another without using the intermediary anymore. These are two. I can go on with the challenges, but maybe we leave it like that with the challenges for the time being.
Yeah. And what do you think? Because there are now some platform they started to be disruptive in a niche, and now growing. They now get corporate like Airbnb. They're now valued at $10 billion. Yes. What do you think? There was a discussion at the first day about should sharing platforms be owned by corporates or by corporations? What do you think about the
corporates
or co-operations?
Or co-ops, yeah.
And what do you think about that? Because first the platforms are fighting against some organization who had a monopoly position, yes. And now there are some platforms who are having the same position. How do you see this?
Well, we noticed that there's an increase in the amount of partnership between the big multinationals and the sharing economy startups. And particularly when it comes to covering the whole value chain of certain sectors, which could be housing or mobility. Now the big sharing economy companies like Uber, they want to be a fully integrated mobility. They want to provide fully integrated mobility services, so not only transporting passengers, but also transporting goods. Airbnb is the same. They're moving along the hospitality value chain, and they want to offer different services. So you can see that the big companies are very, very interested in this kind of models. Although just because of their internal processes and how they are run and how they work, a little bit like dinosaurs, they are obviously slow to implement change.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
Yeah. Okay. And what do you and how do you see the sharing economy in 10 years? Because now it's quite a okay. In basic, it's all it goes back for ages, because it's nothing new. But what do you see like the sharing economy in 5 or 10 years or in the future?
Well, I would hope that they could come up with some specific metrics that could measure the impact of the sharing economy, addressing the bottom line, so the triple bottom line, so economic, social, and environmental. Now there's there's very few data that would indicate what's the impact on the ground. There are several other areas in the economy which have been disruptive in the past, such as the circular economy or eco-innovation, that managed to scale just because they found out the right metrics and they produced the right research or results that would really convince, on one hand, the big companies, on the other hand, the regulators, that the whole thing makes sense. I think the biggest potential the sharing economy has is to increase productivity, resource efficiencies, optimize the resource stream, and in the end, saving costs. However, when it comes to specific verticals, such as specific benefits like the environmental and resource efficiency, there is a little bit of more studies are needed. There's a lot of rhetoric, and if we manage to quantify the benefits in terms of CO2 reduction and cost saving and so on, that would, in my opinion, help the sharing economy reach the mainstream market and move from a little baby to an adult.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. So we'll talk to you again in 5 years.
Yeah,
probably earlier.
I'll be a bit older with more white hair.
Yeah, me too. So, okay, thank you very much.
Thanks
Enjoy your stay at WeShare Fest. Nice meeting you.
Likewise.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.